Hey, my name is AetherStar, and I'm just here to say my current thoughts on Crystalline Conflict PvP so far. So, right now I'm going to click on here to show that I was able to achieve Crystal rank. I have 232 wins, but I actually got Crystal after 191 wins, so right now it's just me trying to see how hard it is to still further climb up in Crystal, because once you hit Crystal, you accrue Crystal credit, which are these points where you earn these points on a win or lose them on a loss. And right now, my thoughts on PvP so far are that it's very fun, for sure. And the second thing is that some classes are definitely better than others, as other people have mentioned in regards to ranked before me. And when it comes to some being better than others, it's one of those things where you have to look at how the rank environment is. So in ranked, it's you with 4 other people versus 5 other people. No one knows each other. You just queue up with whatever class that they pick, so you can have things like 5 DPS on one team versus 3 tanks and 2 healers, or 3 DPS and 2 tanks versus 3 healers and 2 tanks, or whatever possible permutations of ranks that you have. The only set rule is that you can't have 2 of the same class on one team. So you can't ever expect to see something like 2 paladins or 2 warriors on the same team. Now, personally for me and my journey heading into rank, I was able to go from bronze to gold playing warrior for the most part. The warrior was a very strong class, especially in a solo queue environment, and in those ranks of bronze to gold where people don't take good advantage of guard or recuperate or purify, it's a class that excels really well there, because you can create really good picks with your AoE stuns. You can apply a lot of pressure and impact on the game with your stuns, your overall damage, and also your limit break being able to make sure that you get access to Fell Cleave to do even more damage. Now, Warrior Limit Break is very good just for the fact that it makes people unable to guard, but that's something that gets more value later on in the ranks as you climb up, because I would say right now in bronze, no one really knows how to use guard effectively among other stuff, so you're just really using Warrior's Limit Break just to get access to all the buffs and Fell Cleave at that point. But then when I got to gold, I was struggling really hard in my matches. So I was messing around with a whole bunch of other classes just to see if there was a different class I could pick that could potentially lead me to victory. And after all the trial and error, I decided to stick back with Warrior, and Warrior was able to bring me up to Platinum. But see, when I hit Platinum, I was sucked really hard. It was very, very hard games in Platinum. I would say there are a lot of strong players in Platinum right now, probably even still trying to climb out right now. And it was a very difficult time because it felt like a lot of one-sided matches every now and then for the most part. So I was just trying to see, what class could I play to help me climb out? So I was doing more trial and error, and then I stumbled upon Paladin. Now, when I went on to Paladin, this was after the patch buffs that they did to Paladin, where they allowed Atonement to do more damage, and also they allowed Sheltron to mitigate more damage. And I think those buffs actually allowed me to climb out of Platinum, honestly, because what happened was I just played Paladin every game, and I had some setbacks every now and then, but I was basically able to climb from Platinum to Crystal with just Paladin. Now, I will say, climbing from Platinum to Diamond, I would say was my most difficult climb. oddly enough, when I hit Diamond, it was very easy for me to climb from Diamond to Crystal. I'm not sure why that was the case, but I take it maybe I just had really good RNG on those matches because I was basically just win streaking my way into Crystal, and I felt like I was just playing really good and well and with good decision making with Paladin in general, because the way I play Paladin is that I look to make sure I get off enough atonements on targets that I hit with Confidier to get the really good healing back from it, but also I make sure I use the stun to create picks on any people that either don't have MP available to them or don't have guard, because I just saw them use guard and now they're just basically defenseless at that point without guard. So I would say it was very fun climbing up with Paladin like that, and it makes me just wonder about how other classes have their whole effectiveness change as you go up in rank to rank, because I feel that because Warrior was picked a lot and everyone is so used to playing against Warrior that it probably end up being one of those classes that everyone just knew how to play against in the higher ranks, which is why maybe Paladin helped me out there, because back when I was playing Paladin, no one ever really picked Paladin. Or at least in my matches, I've rarely ever seen any Paladins. I would say when playing, most of the classes you would see are White Mage for sure, Red Mage for sure, a couple of Bars, a couple of Machinists. Dragon's a very popular one. Samurai is also popular now. Though Samurai's effectiveness, I would say, diminishes a lot in Crystal, because in Crystal people actually look at your limit break gauge and also look at what buffs you have on your character. So if you're playing Samurai in there, it's going to be really rough to get off a really strong LB. At most, you'll probably be able to kill maybe 1 to 2 people. I actually see Dragoon LB have more success than Samurai LB at this rank. But even then, Dragoon LB has a very missed success to it, because you have to be either very sneaky with it, or you have to use it while people are using all their other abilities, so that the abilities max your indicator for your limit break as Dragoon, because otherwise that indicator isn't masked all that well, then everyone's just gonna pop guard. Although I will say Dragoon has really good advantage on the Volcano map or the Wind map, because those maps, well, not Volcano, but Wind basically forces you to pop guard. And if you get forced to pop guard, that basically just means that the Dragon can just use that as the opportunity to get off a really strong limit break play. And I've seen a couple of Astrologians also. The Astrologians I've seen are very, very good. They have very good CCing and healing, and it's just very obnoxious to try to fight against them because they're very good at keeping their teammates alive. One thing I will say though, in regards to Crystal and the difference between Crystal and Bronze, is that Crystal players are much better at killing a target than Bronze players. And what makes them the same is the fact that for one reason or another, no one will ever stand on the Crystal. I feel like the only reason why I won the matches I did on my climb up to Crystal was strictly because I was always the one that was always on the Crystal. Every time I would look at the post-game stats, I would always be either the person in the game with the most time on the Crystal, or I would be the person on my team with the most time in the Crystal. So I think in terms of trying to climb yourself, out of the low ranks into the Crystal, the easiest way to do that, at least to me, is that you just play a tank and just always do your fighting within the Crystal as best as you can. Now, when it comes to playing a tank, I had a lot of missed successes with Dark Knight. Dark Knight is a very high risk, high reward class with how it plays right now, and it's a curse depending on how good the people you're playing are, because as a Dark Knight, what sucks the most playing Dark Knight is if you get silenced. If you get silenced as a Dark Knight at the wrong time, you're basically fucked, because a lot of your damage is tied to using Shadowbringer into Quietus, or just using your skills to help you gain back HP. But if you're locked out of those skills, you're basically gonna just die and be fucked. at that point. Like, I think Dark Knight has really good AoE damage, but it's very easy for your plays to backfire on you just because of the enemy team composition. Like, if it's like a Red Mage and Bard, you're gonna have a really tough time with trying to use your abilities because they're always just gonna silence you. Or also, even if they do any kind of CC that aren't affected by Purify, that's also another issue on its own. So I've had mixed success with Dark Knight because of that. The next tank is Gunbreaker, and I actually like Gunbreaker, but I don't think Gunbreaker will allow you consistent wins just because of how weird its limit break is. Because on paper, its limit break looks very good, but then when you try using the limit break, there are times when you might not be able to stun because you got stunned during your limit break, so you can't pop the second activation for terminal trigger. And then there's also the fact that your effectiveness is more or less tied to the enemy team composition with the junctions, because you can either get healer junction, DPS junction, or tank junction. I've had the most success with tank junction, although you can go DPS junction if you feel like the enemy team is just really bad at targeting you. Like, the way I look at it is, if the enemy team is focusing you, always go for tank junction, always. But if you see that they never pay attention to you, they never focus you, then go for DPS junction for more damage. But you definitely want the tank junction for the survivability when it's there. And if there's no tanks on the enemy team, then you just go for DPS junction at that point. Like, I tried a healer junction and it's not bad, but it's definitely not as good as the other junctions, at least in my experience with trying them out in different matches so far. So while I do like Gunbreaker, I think you can, if you're good at Gunbreaker now, especially after the buffs it got from the 6.1 patch, 6.11, I think you could potentially climb yourself up to at least gold with Gunbreaker if you're good with it. But I think you'll probably stop there because Gunbreaker lacks the tools that I climb with the other tanks, which is, Warrior and Paladin, mainly because you have a point-and-click stun with those, and stuns win games because you can just create really good picks with those stuns. Also, if anyone that's watching has any questions about Crystalline Conflict or anything about PvP in general, feel free to ask me. I always like answering any questions people ask. You could just leave it as a comment on this video, or maybe even just sending me a message if YouTube allows you to do that. But yeah, I'll typically respond to things that I see, so I would definitely be happy to provide tips and insight on how to either improve your own gameplay or just get better within this. Because I definitely will say that if you want to climb in this game mode, you absolutely just have to pick the best classes, because picking the worst classes just makes things more difficult for you, because what's going to happen if you pick a really terrible class is that what you have to do and what you have to accomplish to win these fights, but you just won't be able to accomplish it just because of how weak some classes are. An example I could think of off the top of my head is how weak Scholar is. And when I say weak, I'm not saying the class is the worst fucking shit to ever play. I'm saying it more like it's the worst fucking shit to play in a solo queue environment. If you could do pre-made 5v5 Crystalline Conflict, I think Scholar would be pretty good, because you'll be able to coordinate with Expedient, with the Biolysis dot, and the Galvanize, and all the damage reduction, all that bullshit, because Scholar provides very nice subtle buffs that don't have a big impact in a solo queue environment just because of the nature of solo queue, right? Because no one's planning shit. But I think Scholar would be really good in a pre-made 5v5 atmosphere. Another class I could think that was also pretty bad right now is also Dancer. I have not seen a single person lock-in Dancer actually pop off with it. That class probably needs either another buff to its limit break or potentially just a whole new limit break. And even then, I don't think that'll be enough to make that class good. Reaper is weird because right now Reaper, after those 6.11 buffs, it can basically spam its LB, but its LB isn't that good. The only niche use I've seen for that LB is for people running into overtime in the crystal with their LB. They pop their LB to force everyone outside of crystal, and then they win because everyone in the enemy team just walked out of crystal because of the LB. Although that's a very niche use though, and I wouldn't potentially try to rely on that for a win condition, because you basically just want consistency for your victories in this game mode. So the classes I can recommend for climbing would probably be what I use, which is Warrior and Paladin. I think even if you had to climb from low rank to up with those, you can still do it. And I know Red Mage is also very good. I have a couple of friends of mine that climb to Crystal with Red Mage. I have another friend that climbed to Crystal using Samurai. So even though Samurai kind of has this effect in this fall because people become a bit more wiser to your limit break, I still think it probably get some success with that if you play it well enough. It's also a pretty fun class to play too. And also has a stun, which also allows you to get picks as well on people that don't have guard available or purify up. White Mage, obviously, another contender for what you can use to climb up, although White Mage is a mixed bag, not because it's bad or anything. It's very good. It's definitely the best class still, even after 6.11 changes. It's just the fact that because you're playing White Mage, and everyone that actually plays this game mode decides to look up some prior knowledge beforehand, it's everyone knows White Mage is strong. So because everyone knows White Mage is strong, what's gonna happen is they're just gonna say fuck the crystal and just tunnel vision on you just to kill you, because they know that since you're the best thing since sliced bread, that all they have to do is kill you, and then maybe their problems go away. Because even if they kill you, they still have to actually go on the crystal. But that's the thing though, right? Is that they know that you're the best person on the enemy team in terms of your class, and they know that if they don't shut that shit down, you're just gonna pop off with your limit break every minute. You have Miracle Nature, that Cure 2 bug that's still around, so you have infinite Cure 2s if you decide to use that. And they just look at all that and say, this is what matters most, is going for the White Mage. So if you lock in White Mage, be very prepared for people just outright tunnel visioning just for you, just to dive you and all this other stuff. And you can probably use them diving you to your advantage by trying to bring them away from the crystal or trying to hope your teammates can finish them. But if your teammates aren't responsive to that, then you kind of just get clapped at that point. So I recommend White Mage only if you are very confident in your ability to play against the fact that everyone is going to be gunning specifically for you. So you might have trouble with also getting crystal time because of that, because you kind of want to stay back in there, because otherwise, again, like I said before, they're just going to dive your shit. I say this because sometimes I'm one of those people that do that, but it's very context dependent on what's happening in the game. But yeah, what other classes can climb up? I think Sage is actually kind of good. I think you could probably do it with Sage. I have a friend that actually climbed up really well to Crystal because of Sage. So I think Sage is also another strong contender, especially now since with the buff, they fixed that bug where your cardio would fall off of whoever you put it on. So now you don't have to constantly reapply it upon death, which is just a nice quality of life if you're playing Sage, right? Oh yeah, Dragon is also another good one to climb up with if you're very good at playing it and dealing damage and also getting off really good limit breaks. I think I saw that one streamer, Angelus Dominus. I think he plays a lot of Dragon, and I'm pretty sure he's in Crystal. If he's not in Crystal, he's probably in Diamond, but I know he's definitely either Diamond or Crystal because I got matched with him before. So yeah, if you want to climb up, you should think about playing Paladin, Warrior, Sage, Dragon Sam, and yeah, that's it as far as I know off the top of my head. If you want to, just climb up from the lower ranks. Again, as I mentioned before, if you have any questions, feel free to just leave a comment in the video and I'll be sure to attend to it because I actually have notifications on. So I'll probably be posting more of my matches in Crystal, because so far I was able to reach 706 points before I had around 300 points as my old personal best. So I'm trying to see if I can somehow potentially climb into top 100 for Ether DC. That's my goal right now, is to see if I can climb up to top 100 before patch 6.2. So I've just been taking it slow but steady. So hopefully if that happens, I'll be able to also provide more insight on what it takes to actually, well, both win in this game and also win consistently in Crystal. So hope you have a good time, everyone that was watching. See you for our next video.